nice out, starting to warm up, so that's pretty cool. I think what we're gonna do though is I got this thing epoxied about a little over a week ago. Went ahead and let this epoxy dry. We had it sandblasted and I wanted to get it sealed up as fast as I could. So then I came back through and was just kind of DAing some of this stuff with some 180, just some spots where we welded. And then what I'll do is I'll come back in with either hand sand that, or like use a Scotch-Brite pad, try to get in the seam best we can. And then down on this seam, we shot a bunch of epoxy. You can even kind of see where it's maybe a little bit lighter. I was trying to get as much done in there as I could. And the other thing we got to do, actually I'm gonna do some body work on that, and or probably work this rocker over. Somebody done a old school method of like putting some screws in there and pulling that rocker out, but I'm gonna have to replace this rocker. I got a new rocker here. So the bad part about this rocker as that is it goes up under here. So I'm gonna try to drill these spot welds here out. If I can, I might come back and cut along here, get the majority of this rocker out of the way, basically cut there, drill these out, and then get in this pinch nail. Get rid of that paper so don't catch on fire. Drill these out. This doesn't look too bad except for right there, but I think I can hammer and dolly that out. And then pull this off and then try to fish this rocker out behind this upper jam. The upper jam's pretty good. Kind of a little ding-a-ling, but no big deal. So then I don't think this is hooked together other than with maybe some seam sealer. I actually don't think they welded these in. And if they did, well, we'll cut this out and then drill this way. Hopefully, we'll get this, try to pull that rocker out of there as much as I can. So that's kind of the plan on that. I'm gonna get the paper off that just so it don't catch on fire when I'm welding on it, and then probably try to get the two quarters into primer, the door jamb, and then the rockers into primer, and then probably do a little work on that wheel well. So we put this wheel well in, but that one had some spots in it where we welded up some holes. Just kind of go over this thing a little bit, maybe try to hammer this out a little bit better, even though I think this gets the fresh air vent here, but I'll fix this here, hammer and dolly that, and then if the camera will pick that up, you can kind of see like where this piece and this piece here are connected. They welded those in or whatever they did, but you can kind of see a little bit of a line there. So that's kind of plan on this Bronco, and then once I get that rocker in, then we'll go ahead and hammer out. Maybe I'll even just jump back and forth. We're going to finish sanding this all down with 180. Now that it's dried, I like to let my epoxy sit for a week or so. And it's been pretty warm during the day, up in the 60s and 70s, cooling off at night. So, give that an extra couple. Hasn't got below freezing, but give that an extra few days just to really, really harden up. And then, then we'll start doing our body work over the top of that. So that's kind of the plan for the next couple hours. Anyway, we'll see if we can get that rocker in, and then maybe try some body work. So
yeah, this is my life, my strife, my right to fight, to die on. And this is my game to play, to claim a brand new name. Oh, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I'm a bit nervous that I might screw everything up.
Basically what I did was I cut them across. I may not need to do this, but what I was thinking was I would cut inside this V. This comes down right here and like 90s out. So I was cutting on the bottom of this, trying not to hit this upper door jamb. And then what I was going to do is cut that out, cut this out, cut across here, and then pull this whole rocker assembly out. You can see it's pretty gross underneath there. And has some the old school thought of early 70s style Bondo, and probably into the 80s they were drilling holes and letting the filler go in behind there and create like a kind of like a grip so that your filler wouldn't fall out. The old fillers were so bad, that's kind of what you had to do, and thank goodness the fillers have came a long way. So here, this is part of the rocker. I'll drill these out, and I don't think these were, oh nope, the spot weld right there and a spot weld right there, and there's probably one or two in here. So we'll have to take this off and then reach in from here and then spot weld that. So that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and try to fight getting this piece off.
But what's the point of living if you ain't having fun? I guess I'll try this, try that, might miss, gotta find what I'm good at. obvious. I look here, look.
I needed to cut just a little bit on this piece here. Here I notched about 3/16 of an inch off because it kind of overlaps that. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. The camera will pick that up, but it kind of like sits on this piece here that goes this way, like that little piece right there. This was actually all the way out to the end, straight up. So I notched this out so that this here, this little edge right here, would fit flush up against the inside of our B pillar. And then kind of the same thing back here. I notched this, see if I can hold this and show you guys. I notched this out here about 7/16 of an inch. Might have been just a little too long, but basically it sits up against here. So I wanted that to come out and then back out so it misses this inner rocker. And we can see our rust prep's working. I've already kind of prepped all that out. Starts turning white and chalky, that's good. But I'm just trying to fit this darn rocker here. Basically what I'm doing is I'm kind of notching that in there, wiggling around, getting that back in there like so. But now the problem I'm running into is the top edge of this new rocker sits not quite at 90 and also is bottoming out against the inside of our upper rocker. Before, so you can see here we've got about an 1/8, 3/16 of an inch, which would get us a lot closer down here. I'm gonna try to either break the top of this. If you guys don't have a break, you can cut this. As long as you put some kind of a primer or sealer on it, you should be fine. But I'm gonna see if I can break it, probably like 3/16 to 1/4 inch lower, which will have plenty of meat still left here to weld to, so that won't be an issue there. We're just trying to get the darn rocker to fit without having to replace this. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's no reason to replace it.
We all got dreams, we all want things. But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be? And do you believe you can do anything? But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?
All right, put that rocker in there, get it all ground down. We'll come back in and sand this a little bit and then seam seal this. But I think what I'll do on that, since this is all got a good coat of epoxy, and then the back side of this has all been primered, on this what I'll do is I'll DA it out with something like 180 or maybe 80 grit, and then I'll see how it feathers out. If it chips off like kind of easy, then I'll go ahead and strip it. And if it feathers out real nice and I know it's got a good adhesion, we'll probably be okay. But more than likely I'll DA that all down and then spray some epoxy on that. We got our corner here looking pretty good. We can kind of work this little pucker out here, but that looks real good there. And then you get back down this corner and grind that. But we'll seam seal this all up, strip it out, prime it, do our body work on our quarter, and then that should be good on the passenger sides of our 74 Bronco. So I'm gonna call the video done here. If you like that type of stuff, give me a like, a subscribe, comment below. And remember, if you got to create something today, even if it sucks. Peace.